become interested in matters of money, you hear the word fiat. It's important that you understand what this means. Fiat means it has no value except what the government says it does. There is a law that you have to accept the government's money, the dollar, in return for debts in the United States. There's a law. You can't say this stuff's worthless. There's a law that you must. Why say you have to unless it's worth less and less?
Welcome to Rethinking the Dollar. Today I'm excited to have Mr. Darryl Schoon with me here on Rethinking the Dollar. Daryl is a historian, economic enthusiast, speaker, author of several great books, of which we're going to discuss one of his more popular books, The Time of the Vulture, How to Survive the Crisis and Prosper in the Process. Since writing this book, a lot's changed. He's done three revisions to my knowledge.
Yeah.
He's also a contributor, editor of Darryl Schoon, as well as survivingthecrisis.com. He's done several commentary work on Kitco and been featured on RT Today. And so I came across Mr. Schoon on Dollars and Cents, one of his popular YouTube shows a couple years back. And so I'm glad to have him here today joining us to give us some information on what's going on around the globe dealing with the dollar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
All right, so I wanted to get into some questions. I got a lot of questions and a lot of things that's happening globally surrounding the dollar, and that's your field of expertise. So I'm going to begin right away with, when you hear the words rethinking the dollar, what's the first thing to come to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is someone's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's really the critical part. And it's not just rethinking the dollar; it's rethinking money. All right. And I thought about your show and the question that you had on rethinking the dollar, Mike. And the metaphor that came to me was like this: all of a sudden, let's say you go to sleep and you wake up and somebody's replaced your blood with plasma,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the plasma does so, and you don't notice it. Okay, you don't notice it. I mean, you just go around your life and you do everything the way you had been doing the day before. You don't notice that your bloodstream has been replaced by plasma, all right? Something different than there was there the day before. And this is like money. When they switched money, when they switched the dollar, because the dollar hasn't always been like the dollar it is today. In 1913, it was like an infusion of this artificial plasma,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Before 1913, before the Federal Reserve started printing the money in the United States, every dollar in the United States was issued by the U.S. Treasury. This was its function, all right? U.S. Treasury, arm of the government, issued currency in the United States. In 1913, the Federal Reserve, a private corporation, basically, in league with a bunch of European banks, put together in the United States something called the Federal Reserve. All right, the Federal Reserve sounds like a government agency. It isn't,
Mm-hmm.
but it was given the right by the government to issue dollars. Since 1913. No dollar was issued from the U.S. Treasury until 1963. And let me explain why that happened and what the deal was. Before the Federal Reserve came in, all dollars issued out of the U.S. Treasury were just, they were our currency, our common currency, okay? And that was like your normal bloodstream, all right? And with life, it goes up and down. We had, recessions, contractions, financial panics and stuff like that, all right? Well, why the Federal Reserve? Why did they come in and put this institution there? Well, the Federal Reserve is an example of what we call a central bank. All right? Now, central banking did not exist before it sort of existed before 1693 in England, but the English really were the first ones to run this game on everybody else. Central banking is substitution of plasma for the regular currency. It's artificial, right? Now, well, what does artificial money or artificial plasma coming from a central bank, what is it really about? It's the substitution of savings-based money for debt-based money.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Before the central banking came in, before the U.S. dollar changed in 1913, all right, money was savings-based. You'd be a fool to go do a job and get an IOU. You come home, you work your butt off, and your wife goes, well, give me the money, I need to go shopping, and you hand her an IOU. And she goes, you were stupider than I even thought you were. You may be cute, but you are dumb as a rock. What is this thing?
Right.
He said, this guy gave it to me. He said, I owe you. She says, this is not money. He says,
Mhm.
I can buy things with it. And she hands it back to you.
Right.
All right? Well, what is it? The Federal Reserve note is now an IOU. It's not even an IOU. They don't even owe us anything. Before, when they issued it, it used to be an IOU. You could take this theoretically to the Federal Reserve and they'd give you gold.
Right.
All right? In England, they gave you silver. In exchange. All right? And they knew nobody was going to exchange it. Because once they put it in circulation, it looked like money. It acted like money. But it was really that artificial plasma.
Yeah.
Well, what is the difference between this, quote, new money, what you call rethinking the dollar, and the old money, the real money, the real money that used to go through our veins, all economies before this artificial money got put in? Well, the artificial money is issued by central banks in the form of debt. It's debt-based. All right? So the money goes in. Every dollar issued through a central bank is in the form of debt. If every debt were repaid, every dollar would disappear.
Wow.
That's astounding.
Yeah, it
if
is.
every debt got repaid, the money would disappear. What we call money is really debt and credit in circulation. Now, it looks like the old money, all right? It talks like the old money, but I tell you, it's not the old money.
All right, so
the old money either was gold and silver coins, all right, that circulated. People, this is savings. This is money. You go, you work for this guy. He gives you maybe not even gold, but copper coins or you know, something like that. Okay,
right.
Pennies. What's pennies? Copper, lead, or whatever that stuff is made out. It used to be, you know, made out of. It's cheap. All right.
One thing. Today, just today alone, I had a stack of quarters.
Okay.
Pre or post 1965 quarters. And I was looking at the side of them. Being that you mentioned, you know, money and things like that. The coins were brown and faded and dulled down. And I'm thinking, like, you know, that right there to me is a clear indication of some type of cover up. The fact that the copper coins are dipped and covered in nickel and things like that. So that is right there is just on a coin base shows how something's covered up.
Yeah. Now, why do they do that? Because they're printing this stuff, they're making it up, and if their cost is lower, they get more for it. In the old days, you know, before central banking, all right, when money was savings based, this is what governments used to do. When you had circulating coins, like maybe gold or silver, or mainly silver because gold was really rare and precious, what the governments would do is they make it smaller. All right, they make it smaller. It's like your candy bar. The candy bar you're getting from Hershey's today. You know, I love those Hershey almond bars. They're much smaller than they were when I was a kid. Yeah. Why? Well, the price is the same. The candy bar is probably two-thirds of the size, maybe three-quarters, and pretty soon it's going to be a quarter. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. All right. What they've done with what they did with dollars, they're doing with candy. Now, why are they doing that? See, we're the people passing this stuff around. We're trading it. We're buying things that, as long as we can buy things, we're sort of happy because we don't understand this. All right. Not only don't we don't understand it, they don't want us to understand it. All right. See, they don't want us to understand it. Why? Because they're running a game on us. Now, if you ask them, Mr. Bernanke, Ms. Yellen, you know, Mr. Greenspan, Chairman Greenspan, are you running a game on us? And then the camera would go off.
Right.
You know,
now
what
the people you just mentioned, Bernanke and Yellen, you know, it's good to say a few people may not know who they are.
Okay.
Who are they?
These are the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And Janet is the first female chairman, chairwoman, chairperson. Okay. It's never a good sign when the boys in power hand it off to a woman. All right. Not that she's going to do bad, but they know there's trouble. Yeah. And let me give you an example, like General Motors. Okay? Huge corporation. Well, in the early 1990s, they were having trouble with this ignition switch. All right? It would just go off. The car would die. And people would die. All right? Really? They died. The ignition would die. And they started getting reports. Not a lot. But they knew there was something wrong. All right? So they figured it was a cheap part. Like, let's say it cost $1.35. All right, but for them to retool it and do a recall, it was expensive. All right, you had to go in there, you had to pay the mechanic $60 to $50, you know, whatever the cost is. It's far more than the part cost. And the longer this problem went on, the more money it was going to cost, because you had more cars to recall.
Right.
Okay, so rather than change it, they didn't do a damn thing. They just sat there and hoped nobody would notice it. Well, so many people got killed, class action suits. They got sued. They got sued.
And
All right,
then they did something.
This is wantonly, for the sake of a few pennies, putting people's lives at risk.
Yeah.
Wantonly, and people died.
Wow.
All right, so they brought the suit against General Motors, and before the suit really gets heard, and so you know what happens? General Motors appoints Mary, I think, or Bar, I don't know what her last name is, as their new chairperson. All right, hey Mary, you want this job? Oh man, women never get CEOs of major corporations. Like, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, she got the hot seat. She had to take the shot full on.
Yeah.
Well, she's paid a lot of money. She ain't going to turn it down.
Yeah.
You know, she's going to have to make excuses. Well, Mary Ellen's the same thing. She's a smart girl. She's been there since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's just, you know, Greenspan did it, and it didn't work. He screwed it up. Well, it's basically time. Right. Bernanke came in. Bernanke, the chairman of the Fed, thought he had the solution.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he went to Princeton. His teacher, his mentor was the University of Chicago, Milton Friedman. Milton said, Uncle Milty says, listen, if you ever get in this problem again, like depression's coming on, you know, the contracting, mm-hmm. all you got to do is print a lot of money, and that's what they used to call helicopter money, and they'll fix it.
Helicopter
money. And Bernanke goes, yeah, this is great. 1992, 2001, at Milton Friedman's 90th birthday, Bernanke gets up and says, you know, Dr. Friedman, we all owe you a great apology, because we caused the Great Depression, saying that central bankers did, you know, like tightening the money supply.
Yeah.
All right? So he says, but now because of you, we'll never have a depression again. That's how confident he was.
Really?
Right? All right. So here's Greenspan. Mr. Greenspan, who was a believer in gold. He wrote his early books on gold. The guy ain't dumb.
Right.
Then he gets hired by Ronald Reagan in 1987. Why? Because Paul Volcker had tightened the conditions at the Fed. He was keeping money on an even money course. It's like juggling. You got to keep the juggling only so many balls in the air. The more balls you put in the air, the harder it is to juggle. So Volcker, yes.
That ties in with one of my questions, based upon an article I read about from you mentioning how when you first came across with your book, Time of the Vulture, we'll get into that. It says that in 2007, Fed interest rates was 5.2%. Now we're near 0%.
Yes.
Get into now how you got into Time of the Vulture and how interest rates play a part in explaining what Volcker did with high interest rates, and now where we're at with zero interest rates.
This is very good. This is very, very good, because we're talking about the plasma.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the artificial currency going through the world's veins right now,
right.
And art. Okay, in a free market economy, which capitalism is not. See, capitalism, everybody's got this wet dream of what capitalism is.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism, the word didn't even exist before central banking. All right, before the artificial plasma came in.
Right.
All right, so that was a central banking, and it was invented by bankers. Why? Bankers make money by indebting people. I mean, it's like, this one kid wrote me, you know, and he wrote a paper because he was trying to find out. I think he was in 7th, 10th grade or somewhere, you know, like that. Or I don't know what grade he was in, but it was a few years ago, and he said he was going to try and find out and interview people who knew about that there was going to be a financial collapse happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the people he found, because there weren't a lot of people out there.
Right.
And I told him, I said, well, listen, let's say your school cafeteria got taken over, got privatized, all right? And they were doing all these good things, you know, they had to give you so much protein. I mean, maybe the fish sticks taste crappy, you know, and that canned spinach, you know, nobody liked it, but you're supposed to have so many vegetables, so much protein, and so much whatever, okay? Mm-hmm. And they sold the concession for the school cafeteria to a candy maker. You know, the local candy maker. And all of a sudden, and everybody liked it. All of a sudden, you're getting, you know, the snow cones, you know, for dessert, and you're getting, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody's teeth starts going bad. Everybody's teeth is going bad. Well, when you have bankers run your economy, and those bankers make money off of debt, mm-hmm. you're going to end up indebted. That's what it is. That's what capitalism really is. Capitalism isn't money. Capitalism is the word for that artificial currency going through our bloodstreams. It's debt-based. It's credit-based. It's credit and debt. That's two sides of the same coin. Right? In the old money, coin on one side of the coin, you may have a different picture, but let me tell you, one side of the coin was gold, and so was the other side. All right? In their money, one side of the coin is credit, and the other side is debt. Credit, when it goes in the economy, it turns immediately into debt.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the cost of that credit is called the interest rate. How they feed credit, it's like you're in the hospital, and they got you on a drip. They got us on a drip. We're the economy. All right? They got us on a drip. And the central banker is the one who sits there and tells the nurse how much flow that drip is going to go in. All right? They either loosen it or they tighten it because they want to keep it flowing. Because in capital economies, which is debt-based, they always have to have what they call circulating velocity. It's like our blood pressure. If it drops too low, it's bad. If it goes too high, it's bad. So that central banker is the one in charge of, with a committee, of determining whether it goes up and down. Well, why do they have a committee? Because they're not sure. Right? They vote on it.
Yeah.
They're not sure about what to do. They're flying by the seat of their pants too. All right? They vote on it. Oh, we ought to, and in really bad times, let it up. Really have to put it down. But in between, they're going, and now they're still split. Well, everybody knows they want to tighten, but they don't know if they tighten, the patient's going to die.
All right. So
that's what I wrote about in Time of the Vulture. At that time in 2007, before the crash happened, or the interest rate was 5.25%. And I said, this is the big question. When the crash happens, are they going to drop the interest rate to keep the thing flowing? All right? But that has its problems of its own.
Yeah.
You drop that currency rate low, you start flooding it, things can happen. All right? Because they used to try and keep it anywhere between 3 and 5. All right? You go down to 2 and 1, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Instead of 3 and 5, you go down to 0, it's really dangerous. You go up to 8 and 9, it gets more dangerous. So you only deviate from 3 to 5 in dangerous situations. The more dangerous, the greater the deviation. All right?
All right.
In Vulture, when he raised the interest rates after they pulled gold out of the system in 1979, Vulture was the one who pulled the gold out. And then he put the fire out. And everybody thinks Vulture's the hero. Well, it's like, yeah, he is a hero for putting the fire out, but they forgot that Vulture lit the match. He lit the match. He started the fire.
Yeah.
And so Carter calls him in 10 years later. He raises interest rates, Mike, to 21.5%, the prime rate, when it's usually 3 to 5. You want to talk about a danger sign?
Yeah.
It was going out of control. It needed that. They can't do that today. Because if they even raise the interest rates, the patient's going to die. Even if they smudge it up a little, 1 point, we're dead.
All right. So do you think this year or sometime soon they're going to attempt to raise it? Because a lot of commentators say that they're going to every couple quarters they talk about doing it, but yet
they're talking about more and more and more. Why are they talking about it? Let's say because they know that continued low interest rates will kill the economy. It's dangerous. It's like pouring gasoline into a house, and you've got lit burners, or you got people who smoke in the house. Now it's not on fire. It hasn't. But they know the more gas they pour in, the more dangerous it gets. Or the metaphor is steroids. They're putting you on steroids. In the beginning, steroids are really good, but too many steroids, you die, and it's a painful death. So the central bankers are sitting there, and they know it's dangerous. This low. We've never had interest rates at 0 before. Never, never, never. That shows how dangerous these times are. All right. This shows in capitalism, in their debt-based money, these are really dangerous times. And everybody's going into the hospital room and they go, oh, Uncle Sam's sitting up. He's walking around. Look at me, looks good. Well, they got the fucker in a tanning booth. They're doing this to him. Here, come him up. The interview.
Yeah.
There's Uncle Sam. He's sort of slurring his words, but better than being in a coma.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. So they've got the interest rates almost down to 0 because it's almost dying. They're flooding it, and it's not restarting. They're hoping it'd go up to 3 to 5. They're looking at 2 now.
Really?
Yeah, they're hoping, let's get it, and it won't move. They're flooding. And they know the more they're flooding it, the dangerous get. So that's why they're talking about raising the interest rate. But they know if they raise the interest rate, you'll die. he could very well die.
Now, if he dies, the patient we're referring to, which is our economy.
Our economy. Global economy now.
Global.
Not just the United States.
Correct.
Everyone is on this paper money.
Correct.
China, Russia, everyone.
Now,
Zimbabwe.
crisis. The subtitle of your book, how to survive the crisis. Now, this was prior to 2007. Now, we've already had the crisis, correct? I mean, or is there something? Is there something?
Uncle Sam's still in the hospital.
Right? Uncle Sam, okay.
He's got a heart attack. He's in the hospital, and you're going, hey, the crisis is over. Why? Because he didn't die. And somebody goes, Mike, where's your uncle now? He's still in intensive care. Yeah. But I saw him last week. Seems all right. Yeah, he had a tan. So look at, he likes to learn the words, but you're now so glad that he didn't die because you were afraid he was going to die.
Yeah.
Right? And every once in a while they wheel him out in a wheelchair. And his blood pressure goes up and go, oh look, it's getting better, it's getting better.
So Uncle Sam's on life support in the hospital. It's terminal, it's fatal. He doesn't have much left in the tank. So as far as
everybody's hoping he ain't gonna die.
Correct. So
that's why I understand it.
Right.
The doctors, his friends, the family, but you know who really hopes he's not gonna die?
The people,
the insurance company.
Yeah, the people who hold treasuries.
They got a life insurance, and when he dies, the payout's enormous. They got to pay. Well, what happens is this. It's the inverse. When he dies, their Ponzi scheme collapses. The bankers who hold the concession over the high school cafeteria, the candy makers, are out of business.
Right.
They're out of business. And they have gotten rich. That 1% is getting bigger and bigger. No, the 1% is staying the 1%. In fact, that term 1%, it really applies to the top 1/10 of 1%.
Right.
All right? They're getting more and more and more of it. Everybody else is getting less and less and less.
And those that 1% clearly are the people that is not on the mainstream media. It's not your Bill Gates. It's not those guys who are publicized as billionaires. We're talking about the Rothschilds. We're talking about
the ones behind the scenes. They don't want to take the heat for this.
Right.
And Mike, if you were a Rothschild, and let's say you even knew this, all right? Let's say you watch one of your videos and go, oh man, because you hadn't thought about it. You're a kid, you're having fun, people love you. Why? You got money. You don't know if that girl likes you because your last name is Rothschild. You don't really care. Your mom may be going, she's only after your money. All you know is she's after you.
Yeah.
Okay? She's after you. She likes me. She doesn't like you, stupid kid. Wait up. And so, but you don't care. All right? These people, and let's say you realize it was a Ponzi scheme. You realize everybody's in debt. And then you realize it's going to fall over.
Mm-hmm.
All right? What are you going to do? Even if you gave away your inheritance, it wouldn't change the game. Even if you said, this money is sucking the world dry, it ain't going to make, the people you feed will make better, but it's going to stay until it collapses. No one can speed the process. The central bankers are trapped. Right. We're saying what they do, they're trapped, Mike. Right. We're trapped. We're all trapped. And the Titanic is going down. The life preservers are gold and silver. Mm-hmm. And faith. If you read my art, before I started doing these videos, mm-hmm. I started writing articles right after I put my book up, mm-hmm. okay? And the book was ordered in 25 countries. Really surprised me. I didn't have any degree in economics, mm-hmm. But I know about money.
Right.
And I know about because I started looking at this stuff in the 1990s, mm-hmm. really in a focused way. And the difference between me and a lot of people, Mike, I didn't have answers. I had some questions. Most people, when they go into something, have the answer. Most people who study spirituality and religion have an answer. Mm-hmm. So they go in there looking at it to try and fit whatever's out there into their answer. Christians have their little answer. Seventh-day Adventists have theirs. Catholics have theirs. Baptists have theirs. Mm-hmm. Atheists see the same stuff and they take it and they shove it in their box. Muslims take it and they shove it in their box. All right? Everybody tries to put it in their own little preconceived box. I just had some pure answers. My question was, what the heck happened in the Great Depression? Where did the money go? Mm-hmm. And I found out, well, the money didn't disappear. It was never money. It was credit and debt. The credit disappeared and all you were left with debt.
Yeah.
So the answer started coming. I didn't know about the role of the Federal Reserve when I started looking. I know so much, I don't think about it. I don't like to think, because you can't, thinking about something doesn't change what it is.
Right.
You can observe it and watch how it changes. But once you got it, you got it. You know, once you went out with that girl and you really realized she was after your trust fund because you were a Rothschild, you got it.
Right.
But until then, you don't get it.
Okay. Now, coming towards the end.
Yeah.
Now, Uncle Sam is a depiction of our economy. He's on life support. The Federal Reserve has pretty much drained him dry due to credit and debt and things like that. So he's almost on his way out.
At the end of the life cycle. Because that fake plasma only ran for a while. They never had an end date because it kept getting better. The bankers didn't know. The bankers still don't know. They just hope it's going to keep going. No one knew that the plasma bag that they stuck on it, it had an invisible expiration date. You know, you get this plasma, you put it in. I say, you know what your dollar is? Your dollar is a trading stamp. All right? It's a trading stamp that's good at the store with an invisible expiration date written on it.
Wow, that's a perspective I never thought about.
Yeah. And no one knows what it is. All we know is getting closer.
Getting close to his demise. Now, once Uncle Sam flatlines, what does it look like for you and me, for citizens, the world over?
For everybody, okay? Now, way before I got into money, I got into life. I wonder what this deal was going on, okay? What I believe is going to happen is this. We're going through a cycle in history. Change happens. And we're moving from A to B to C to D to E, okay? I believe this economic collapse, Michael, and I put it in my book, is part of a bigger change. I believe that the economic collapse is the trigger for a paradigm shift that's monumental. All right? And all we've got, folks, now we know that the money's falling apart. We don't see the rest of it. In every period of civilization, when it refreshes itself or goes to a higher level, the previous civilization has to get wiped out. For the Middle Ages to give way to the Renaissance with the art, with the flowering, the Middle Ages had a crap. All right? And it wasn't pretty. The economy fell, everything, and the Black Plague happened. You know, wiped everybody out. And then the Renaissance was succeeded by what they call the Age of Enlightenment. All right? Wars. I mean, horrible wars. And it had a crash. And then it got higher. We're at the end of another collapse. All right? I say earth changes happen. What we see with the weather is part of it. This is huge. But when I started writing my articles, Mike, I ended it, every article I write, I end with 3 words. Buy gold, buy silver, have faith. And, you know, my audience is mainly a gold and silver audience because I write to them. And I don't push that faith thing because it's like out there, right? For people who, you know, if you don't got it, you don't got it. And I understand.
But that's the thing. Everybody believes in something. Everyone believes in something. Now it's just a matter of honing in, fine tuning what you believe in, finding your version of truth. Which I love sharing my faith with people because I'm a follower of Christ. So it's easy for me to say what I believe. Now, this is the time period where you're going to have to find your faith along with those other options.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, absolutely. I always end it with buy gold, buy silver, have faith. And in my book, I said, you know what? Of all these, faith is the hardest to get. All right? But you got to get some now while the getting's still good. But you know what? We learn faith in the trenches. Okay? You may get gold and silver when you have a lot of money, but you don't get faith when you're in the trenches until you're in the trenches. Until you are like this and something happens and your fear doesn't happen. You're taken through. And your faith can be in something. That's why I always thought those people go to those drug rehab, or Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12-step program. That works. All right? Because their life got so bad they had to find that deal. They were put up against the wall. They were shoved off the cliff. And they had to let go, and what they say, let God, whatever God is to them. All right? But it saved their life, the ones who were able to do that. Faith. We're going to be transformed by this experience, Mike. All right? All of us who are listening to this program or watching it went through puberty. None of us had a good time. Even the ones who had a good time in puberty, it wasn't good after. It was like, you know, you were high school football, you know, captain, and then in college you were screwed. Your dream would just disappear. The popular girl, her life wasn't necessarily good. Puberty was troubling, but we were different people as adults than we were as children. Humanity is going through a huge shift. In my point of view, and this is only my point of view, all right, is that we're going to go, it's going to test us. Gold and silver, if you got assets, is the place to be, all right? But the most critical thing to get us through is faith that there's something going on here. You can go back just to history, all right, and say there's something driving us. De Tocqueville, who wrote this book, Democracy in America, said he believed in freedom. He said because when you go back, there's some progress that's always going further and further and further. Now he didn't get in his book and get preachy and talk about his beliefs, but he led you to know that there's something moving in here that you're a part of.
Yeah.
We are a part of something. I don't care.
This concludes my interview with Darryl Schoon. I hope you found this to be educational and informative. Click the subscribe button below this video here for future videos, as well as share this with family and friends. This is definitely an important subject. I want to encourage you to visit Daryl's site and get a copy of his book, The Time of the Vulture. Most importantly, visit Rethinking the Dollar, where you get a chance to test your money IQ, as well as get a copy of my book, the free ebook rather, The Simplicity of Money, the 4 lessons you will never learn in school, and also on Facebook. Give me a thumbs up. I also post news and articles there that are definitely worth your while. Until the next interview, see you later.